session. We are very happy to have an Odoo presentation in this BeeCon, because we have to start to create a wider community with other people working with open source. So very happy to present Laurent and Philipe. The pronunciation is even worse than in English, which is the action team, and they are going to talk us about that market, about TCM and Odoo. Go ahead. Big applause for them.
Thank you. So, welcome to our talk about when ERP met ECM. Let me first set the stage. The context of this talk is we saw that we've been quite a long time around in enterprise content management and everything which has to do with ERP. And we noticed that our customers had quite often a recurring need. And it's threefold. The first thing was that they wanted to have proper content management of their documents, which were linked to their processes. Secondly, they wanted to be able to classify and index these documents in an easier way and also in a more palatable way. Because as your documents start to flow around, of course you can't find them back easily, or say, okay, I'm not sure this process finished, but I'm not sure where I can find it back. Where can I find it? So the idea was to have better indexing for that. Yeah. And finally, the idea was also, okay, we're having two words, the word of enterprise content management and the word of processes. It should be good to be able to enrich the document with the data coming actually from the business. So in the solution that we implemented, we tried to follow two principles. The first thing was that the enterprise business data would drive the content management classification and indexing, while we are leveraging the two software packages. Okay, let me show in the next slide some more details about this marriage of these two words. So you see, we named this combination of these content and process, we called it enterprise processes, to avoid using the word business processes because okay, it has different meaning and to avoid slightly the confusion. On one hand, you have the content. So okay, you know that that's Alfresco. It's about structuring your content, versioning, indexing, searching, and so on and so on. But then on the other side, you have the ERP word, the process actually. And there we're talking about tasks, about resources, about commitment. Here the word commitment means actually as a company or an enterprise, you're engaging yourself towards the external world. So for instance, invoices, okay, that's the other way around, of course, and so on. And for the ERP, so now we get in there, we use Odoo. Now, what is Odoo? Who knows Odoo? Not bad. 1/3. Okay, cool. So maybe I don't need to explain all this, but for the people who don't know Odoo, Odoo is an open source all-in-one management software. We prefer to talk about management software and not about ERP because it goes further. It not only has ERP, it also has CRM, client relationship management, warehousing, manufacturing resource planning, accounting, invoicing, point of sale, e-commerce, and so on and so on. Like for the people who were in this morning in the Bird of Feather, well, we're talking about almost 2,000 modules which can be added to Odoo. Odoo it's quite interesting because Odoo has quite similar way of working as the Odoo of the Bee. It's also open source, it's also community driven. And the community for Odoo is called OCA, so the Odoo Community Association. If you're more interested to see how the community is driving Odoo and how they're working together, I would all invite you to talk with my colleague Stefan de Goul tomorrow also, he's there. But if you want to have a chat with him after this session or during the break, he's there too. So the child of this lovely marriage, we call it AlfOdoo. I guess you before I will give the demo, but first I would like to dive a bit more in the main features so you can more exactly place the different principles and different ideas of this module inside the demo. So I said before, AlfOdoo wants to leverage Alfresco and Odoo. We do this by providing a document container for the business records. Actually, this document container, you can imagine it as a space inside Alfresco where you can store all documents linked to that business record. It's configurable per type. We'll see in the demo to be more clear what I mean by these types. And the AlfOdoo container inside of Alfresco will be referenced by an Alfresco node rep. So it means that we can make a full abstraction of the actual location of this container. So there we can start classifying and indexing this container where we want inside of Alfresco. The container itself can contain documents and subfolders. And I said, okay, it's a folder inside Alfresco, so you have the full capability, the full features of Alfresco to manage everything inside this container. And now it's getting interesting, actually, because to have this better indexation and classification, we do synchronization of the business records towards the document container. And then we say, okay, now we drive actually the location, the storage, and the indexing of this container inside Alfresco. The container itself is materialized through the documents tab inside the Odoo user interface. So it means that users don't have to go inside Alfresco if they need to do the major operations on it, and because the purpose is not to provide to this user interface a full-blown user interface to have an alternative to share. That's not the purpose, to make that clear. And finally, a third, also very important feature is the document generation. So as I said before, it's actually combining the business record information with a template and then also put metadata on the document and then store it in the appropriate location of Alfresco. So it means actually in the right document container. And then the generated document itself is stored inside Alfresco. And then a nice final point of these main features is that it's fully based on open standards. So we follow the CMIS standard. For people who don't know the CMIS standard, so it's an open standard that allows and enables information sharing between the content management system using web services and Web 2.1 interfaces. Okay, so it's time for a little demo.
Right, on the table.
Would it work like this?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Recording is still keep it.
No. Yes. It's recording. Yeah, fine.
Good. So first I will start by showing you inside of Alfresco. So rewind. So what I'm going to show in the demo is actually the project management. So actually what we're looking at will be records for different projects. Inside of Alfresco, we've stored it in the Odoo folder and then in the project folder, but by using rules, you can still decide to actually post this container to different locations. So every folder that you see here corresponds to one project. We defined a custom aspect on every project which contains specific information, which you see here on the bottom of the page, the project manager, the project type, the customer, and the status. So this is all information coming from the business record. And then inside of these different project management containers, you can have full structure with anything, you can have just a document, and so on. This, I will show you this also later, this structure had been initiated with a space template, which maybe you already see.
Can you put the font a little bit larger?
The font a bit larger? Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you.
So you already have inside the space template, you have the software engineering project, and that's the one that we use to actually generate the initial structure. So this is for the Alfresco side. Now, Odoo, so this is the main entry of Odoo. You see already, okay, you have some applications. What we're interested here is the project management module. So here you have the list of projects. And if we go, for instance, you see in Alfresco, I already had the data import export plugin. This one is actually corresponding to this project. Now what can I see? If I go inside the project, I see the data for the project. So it's category, it can contain different tasks, the project manager and the customer. So this is the information that you also saw inside of Alfresco. And the project has several tasks, which you can hear in this case. The different tasks are actually for databases. For the project, so you have the project, you have the task. We only configure the project type to have a document style, which you can see here in the user interface in here. And so you already recognize too small. You already recognize the same folder. Actually, it's a view. This one is a view on the other folders. So what do we have of functionality? We have the refresh. So if something would change in Alfresco, we can refresh it here. You can create additional folders. For instance, create folder. You can add extra documents. You can do it with the browser or simply drag and drop a document inside of the container. So then we have it here. And then we can jump directly inside share to see the container which is linked to that one. So we just jump inside of it. So this is actually for the container. You have for every document, you can download the document, so it's fairly easy, but you can also do a direct preview of the document. And here also an interesting technical thing is that this document viewer is actually the same as PDFGS, which is exactly the same viewer which is used inside of Alfresco. You can do most of the major operations to view the details. You can have some name, the title, description, and so on. So there is also some room for improvement actually to be able, if you have custom aspects, to also show these properties inside of it. You can update the document. So basically it means selecting a new version of the document and uploading it as a 1.1 version. And then again, as we did for the container, you can just jump directly to the document inside of share with this button. So you have the document and you can do the usual stuff that you do inside of Alfresco. Now to get to this other, maybe just I show you one thing. If I take this.
Sorry, can we ask question now, or we'll have to wait until the end?
I'll just finish it and then you can ask the question. As I was saying, there's a choice that we made, is that if we create a new project inside of Odoo, we don't create the folder directly in Alfresco. And that's because to avoid to have a lot of empty folders inside of Alfresco. So we have actually a button which says, okay, I'm going to initialize the folder and create a folder. So now I just created the web designs templates container, and if I go inside of Alfresco, you see that now I have this additional container displayed here. Here I didn't specify that I wanted to use a template. So it just created the empty container, but then I can create any folder anywhere. An interesting thing is here that the decision whether or not to use the space template is defined on the type of document, on the type of project. So for instance, this project hasn't got any container yet, but it has the category IT, and in the configuration, I said that the IT project type has this path for the space template. So it's highly configurable. I can just define extra categories and then also define the space templates in Alfresco, and I can do as much as I want. So it means that if I go back to the project, so this one, and I initiate the container, you see it creates all the folders, everything, by copying the space template. Boris, you had a question?
Yeah, so, well, in terms of users, so I can see that you can jump from one to the other, but where do you manage all the users? Are Odoo users, are Alfresco users, or external?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, the question was, how do you manage the different user accounts in between Odoo and in between Alfresco?
Yeah.
What we usually do is that we use single sign-on. Which system did we implement?
Actually, we have implemented two systems of authentication. The first one is, you don't see it here, but before the presentation, Philipe has just used the basic authentication to log from Odoo into Alfresco directly from Odoo. So when he has displayed the first time the folder, he has just put this credential to log in into Alfresco from Odoo. But we have also developed a new an additional add-on to play the role of proxy, and with this add-on, all the communication are proxied by Odoo to share, and in this case, all the communication are done with a dedicated user, a super user. It's two kind of authentication.
Is it the right time for questions?
No, we have.
Okay, sorry.
So the last thing I would like to show you, which is also quite nice feature, right, is actually the document generation. So we defined a LibreOffice template inside of Odoo, but we can also put it inside of Alfresco, and then just, then you have actually control on that template, so you can just change it inside of Alfresco, and then using the Odoo document generation features, we can just combine the information from Odoo with the template inside of Alfresco. So in this case, we have a project status template. So when I hit the button, it generates the document. It's going to store it directly in Alfresco, open it in Share. So okay, it went so fast that it already opened the document here. And it's also going to send the same document, you see here in the downloads session. It's already sending also the document to me, so I can start editing and then upload it directly into Alfresco as a new version, if I would like to do that, because otherwise I just discard the download, I don't need it. So what do we see here? The template took the name of the project. Okay, the customer was empty, so I have no customer. The project manager, which was the demo user, and then it looked for the different tasks associated to that project. So these are different records inside of Odoo, and took the status of these different tasks. I don't know if this is more or less clear. Maybe I should just show the tasks inside of Odoo. Some people are looking a bit strangely to me.
The Alfresco. It's the Alfresco eye.
Yeah. So just to clarify this is the project, and to a project I can associate tasks. And these stars got different records. Well, it's like a task, it's associated to that project. And you see these stars can have a state and subject. You have a user assigned to that and have a status. And actually this is the information that we're going to read and to inject inside of the document. At the same time, we didn't implement here a custom aspect, but we're using the standard properties of the documents. We also filled in the name, okay, the name for this project stated, but we also filled in the title and the description. So you see here it's project status, website for sales and WMS, and the description report from demo user. So that we could also, just a matter of configuration, we could also use a custom aspect, attach it to the document, and also fill in extra metadata there by using the data coming from And here, in this case, another choice that we made is that so the document that I have generated is inside the reports folder.
You have to click on the report directly, not the request.
Yeah, sorry. So here I have my document, and if I look inside the details, I can't see here. But if I go to Alfresco, you see I have a version 1.0. Here for the printing, we decided that if we print it again, so you would have an update of the business record in Odoo, that we would version the document. Now I've generated the 1.1, but it's just a matter of configuration because we just create another document. So this concludes the demo. I have a couple of slides just about the technical details. It should stop mirroring. So for the more technical details, AlfOdoo is an open project. It has an AGPL v3 license. You can find it on alfodoo.org. Sources are in GitHub, and on YouTube you can also find a nice video if you want to watch it again to see how it's working. For the really deep technical ideas, or the real technical implementation of the AlfOdoo module, as I said, it's implemented in CMIS. It's CMIS 1.1. For the user interface, it's JavaScript-based Odoo widget in which we included 3 external libraries. One is the CMS.js for the communication protocol. There we're using browser binding. For the view, we're using a data table widget, so it's available on datatables.net. And for the document preview, we're using PDF.js. So this is actually the same library that Alfresco is using to do the preview inside of Alfresco. And for the backend, we have a dedicated Python add-on, and the communication protocol is chemistry semi-slip, which was originally initiated by Jeff Boss. So I think there again, the same people are coming over and over again. And now this semi-slip library is maintained by the Apache chemistry community. We have some ideas for evolution. I say ideas because we don't have really a concrete roadmap. We prefer to see with customers, with users of the AlfOdoo module to let them browse, okay, what is the next interesting feature that we could integrate. So these are things that we see which could be interesting. One of the maybe most interesting things is to have a more advanced document and type and metadata management. Actually, is to go inside Alfresco to see, okay, which aspects do I have, and just grab it and display it in the Odoo user interface. Also to have, again in that same area, to have the possibility to preview these properties in Odoo, because now you just see the basic properties. To have also the possibility to decide when you upload a new version to have major, minor, choice, edit offline functionality, and so on and so on. So, we have still 30 minutes for questions.
I have
You had one.
Yes. Yes.
I-
I take it. Let me roll.
Thank you. I have, first of all, I like it, so it's a feedback for you. And I'm aware for sure for another use case of integration between Odoo and Alfresco, because in a previous life I had a chance to have this kind of problem. And it was because in the way I know you do Odoo, there are lots of places where the interaction between an ECM and the ERP could add a lot of value. For example, in Italy we have some problems with the proper protocol is the name in English, I'm not sure. In any case, to give an unique ID to the documents, and you do have some verticals on that, resolving that problem. There are custom modules, so they are not official modules you do. And this is a classical problem when you have to interact with the ECM because you have to store the things in the ECM. So my question for you is, because I think that one solution like this should not be useful only for the project managing module, but could be useful for probably the most part of the Odoo modules, because Odoo has the concept of modules or components, I don't remember that. But do you plan, or do you think it would be difficult to use that integration also in other modules? Are you planning to do? You don't care? You hate it? So which is your opinion on that?
The answer is very easy because the solution is also very easy. To put a further on another object into Odoo, it's just a matter of three lines of code, no more. And you are also able to do it directly by the UI. I can show you if you want after the presentation how you can do it. So it's a choice just for the developer to put a folder on the project to have a well-known concept to just demonstrate how we can integrate this component, but it's designed to be put everywhere.
So I think I can introduce to you a prospect in Italy because I know for sure a company that would be interested.
Any other question? No? So, take a applause.